Hi, Chris Chappell here. You know, a year ago, I was in Hong Kong covering the Umbrella Revolution. Since it's been a year since I was there, I figured we'd take a look back and remember what the experience was like.
Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Billy the Fish. It was me the whole time. I'm the man behind the curtain.
You're the black hands behind the fish.
Well, I can really appreciate how brave the students of Hong Kong are, because I'm terrified as soon as I get there. Every time I turn around, I'll just get sprayed with pepper spray or a tank will run over me. So those kids have way more courage than I do. So I'm going to join them and try and be inspired and see what I can do to help them out.
The process for planning for Hong Kong was incredibly short.
That implies that there was a process, which there was not.
I just remember getting this call Friday night from Alan.
So I was naturally really excited, and I wanted to go around and tell everyone. So I was like,
Hey Chris, we talked to the boss. You're going to Hong Kong. It's like, oh, great. Hong Kong was incredible. Like, we flew in and it was just lush tropical mountains with giant apartment buildings. It was gorgeous.
Hong Kong is an amazing city, and it's a very tall city. Of course, being in Manhattan, you see these incredible skyscrapers all over the place, but in Hong Kong, it's even more so. And they're bigger, they're newer, they're full of lights. So as a city, it's quite spectacular.
Alan had said something about how it was such like a futuristic sci-fi kind of city, and it did look like this kind of city that was like the future dystopia or something like that, with all like the brand names on the buildings and the English and the Chinese.
I apologize.
Do we need another clap?
Yeah, let's clap it again. Shake it. All right, and rolling.
I think it was really different because usually China Uncensored is like me and Chris just kind of like talking over Skype and, you know, looking at scripts together. Like, I'll write a script and send it to him, or he'll write a script and send it to me. And a lot of our interaction is just over the computer. So having a team working on stuff, like doing stuff with like actual camera work and being on site was really different experience, and I think it really only made the show better.
Clap again?
Yes, please.
After we got it a little planned out and I realized like they weren't just gonna send me with a camera and have me figure it out as I go along, once I had a team together, I really felt excited.
We ended up with this perfect team.
Fantastic. It was the best possible team.
It was a really strong team.
It was a dream team.
Fighting hard for universal suffrage.
This little guy's stealing your thunder, man.
Each person knew several different aspects of it, but no one could have done this alone.
When I first saw the Mongkok protest site, it was when our car from the airport was like passing by that site, and the driver said something about, don't go to the protest sites.
It was very different between Mongkok and Admiralty. Mongkok was, there's a lot of passion there. It was not as isolated from the rest of the city as Admiralty was, so there were people walking by and you could get the sense that there was a lot more tension there.
And it was always like, Mongkok. All right, let me grab my helmet. That's where the action happened. That's where the revolution, not the movement, was.
Admiralty, on the other hand, though, it was like this utopian society these students had created for themselves. It was just so like peaceful and hopeful too, and it just kept going on and on. It was a massive protest that I hadn't seen anything like that ever.
It was almost like a mini city in Admiralty, and it was just so full of hope and love and a sense of community.
It was kind of stunning to be at Admiralty after seeing so many photos and video of it.
A few days later, we had finally settled down, gotten used to the time difference and how things were working with the protest sites. So we decided to have a fan meetup in this like really random and off the grid place.
I guess when I look at the show, I look at it in terms of numbers. So okay, 58,000 subscribers. That's a lot of people watching, but to connect that with actual people who are watching was quite an experience.
It was kind of bizarre, to be honest. I think because, you know, when I look at the viewership of the show, I'm only seeing kind of people on YouTube, and sometimes there are some pretty crazy YouTube comments.
Interesting characters who were either threatening to kill me or assuming I would be killed. So I was always wondering, what would it be like to actually meet fans?
One more, 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you.
And one of the first, possibly even the first person to recognize China Uncensored, this college guy comes up to me and he asked me, like, are you guys China Uncensored? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, how do you watch the show? And he was saying that his professor at Hong Sen College, a management college, was showing the show to his entire class because his professor felt like it had really deep analysis about China, and that was mind-blowing to me.
You know, we've worked on the show for more than 2 years, and to see actual fans, you know, come up to Chris and say, I watch your show, I love your show, what you're covering is so important for us, or for me as a person living in Hong Kong. And so that was an amazing thing to me to see.
You know, they don't have to like the show, but it really made, again, it was a sense of responsibility that made me feel like how important this show is and how much hard work I need to put into it to live up to what they've invested in me.
It was really hard not getting sleep. And part of that was that we were working crazy hard.
I don't know what is what anymore in Hong Kong. I haven't slept in I don't know how many days. I lost Thursday somewhere. There's a day that was not slept in.
Also living on a constant diet of youtiao and Nescafe.
We didn't know what we were doing at first, so like we didn't know like where to get food, so we ended up with like a lot of like kind of like strange quasi-Western food, and I was kind of like, I don't remember Hong Kong food being like this the last time I was here.
Let's try and figure out how to get to Spaghetti House. I'm curious to try. Orange peel, coated in sugar. I'm not sure what the cartoon on the back is trying to tell me. That girl seems very distraught. I hope it's not from eating this. I do feel like that pound of crispy pork I had for breakfast probably was not the best part of waking up. I ate a goose face. No, I didn't eat a goose face. I got a slice of goose face. That was this part. I was surprised.
Bangkok. That was unexpected. Before I went, my parents told me if anything happens, you get as far away from there as you can. And so as I got right in between protesters and police, I was like, they're probably not going to be too happy when they see this episode.
I guess it happened so fast. Like, we had just come from filming in Admiralty, and we were going back to the apartment, and when someone started hearing like yelling on the streets, and like we started seeing like police flooding into the streets, and like Alan and went downstairs to like start shooting, and the rest of us went up to the roof to try to see like what was going on.
Chris Chappell here right outside of Mongkok. There's been shouting. Our camera guy is in there right now. He's seen people getting beat by police. We don't know the details, so we're going in and seeing what we can see. This is an intense way to end Wednesday night, so let's go.
It was definitely louder that night. I remember there was a lot of commotion outside, so me and Ben Chastain decided to go out and check what was going on. There were small fights going on here or there, and we saw a few people go down. But then I see this medic holding this rubber floor mat, and he's just kind of like blocking off something. And I peeked over the mat, and there's just this poor man lying on the ground. He was barely conscious. Well, later we found out that man, Mr. Lamb, had fractured his pelvis, and he could no longer feel his right leg. Basically paralyzed, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a lull. Let's go right in the front. Interview the front line guys. Come on.
I got audio on that mic, on that stick mic. I'm gonna stand back. Go. I was actually surprised that the police let us in right between themselves and the protesters.
Yeah, if it was New York, forget about it. They probably would have never let us in there.
Later I started to think about it, and I realized that maybe the police actually wanted us to be in there, because the fact that we were there as Western media kind of maybe helped diffuse some of the tension, made people on both sides reluctant to be violent.
Yeah, okay, it was totally because they were white. I mean, they won't say it, so I will. When I was by myself, cops were getting a little rough with me, and they were yelling at me in Cantonese, which freaked me out because I don't understand any of it. But when I was next to Chris, Matt, or Ben, it was a completely different story. It was a lot calmer. They were nicer to me.
Yeah, and once we actually got in there, a lot of other media came and sort of flooded that 5-foot gap, and so it was like then all the media were there.
But definitely, like, the moment that made it all very, very real for me is a protester came up behind Matt, who was doing camera for me and myself, and he gave us goggles, and he was like, "The police are pepper spraying people, put these on now." And I took it and I looked around, and I was like, surrounded on one side by protesters, the other side was police. There was nowhere to go. Whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And that was very, very real.
And the tension was so high there, you really didn't know what was going to happen from one moment to another.
We ran down. I remember Matt saying to me, like, "If you come, I can't protect you."
I was really touched by the protesters. They were offering us, like, one person on the front lines offered up his helmet to me. Like, if anyone needed a helmet, it was him.
One of the protesters said to us, "You guys are our guardians." And that really struck me. I really understood at that moment the impact that we had.
As we left Hong Kong, I thought about the students we had met. There was something about them that filled me with hope. It was almost like I was watching what China will be like when it's free. This group of people fighting for a better Hong Kong is, in many ways, fighting for a better China. Maybe one day we'll see it.
It's good.